Happy Martin Luther King Monday of service, front desk team. Thank you for giving good service every day to everyone. Today we're actually going to talk about how to tie bows correctly, what that means, and how that is actually service too. Service is either reactionary or proactive. And in balance, we try to be very proactive in giving service so that we have better end service experiences. Last week we talked about engagement. This is a form of engagement. So you will see a post on the front desk team dash about the scoreboard engagement. We're going to double back to that. There was a question I posted on the 15th that didn't get any responses. We bumped it back up on the 17th. So we'll talk about that individually or in little pairs about how what we are talking about when we're looking at engagement and how to keep engaging with the post. It should be something that you're looking at, especially if there's one that's live that we're all giving feedback on. It shouldn't be like a one and done or a two and done or, hey, I think I touched that enough. It should be, this is a live engagement opportunity and you should be in that every shift. Even if you're just reading it, you'll then see if there's another chance. So that's kind of like tying a little bow on your week, just making sure all your engagement opportunities have been touched up. So tying your bows started, we started talking about that early in 2009. For the first year or so of Balance, it was me working 7 days a week, the 12-hour days that were open, and learning the ropes. I knew at some point we were going to need to hire help because I just couldn't sustain that if we wanted to grow or see things differently. So I actually hired somebody that I used to work at Caribou with. He was 10 years my junior. He was getting ready to go to college. So I hired him that summer specifically to just help me to define what is the position I'm going to hire for. I didn't even know what it was. So Kenton and I worked together. He just took kind of notes on notepads. We kind of started charting out what the greatest needs were. And then that's the ad that became the Craigslist ad that Mike responded to. So Mike's job tried to be defined before he started it. Clearly it's changed underneath us over the years and gotten more definition. But one of the things I realized when I was having to get out of my head onto paper and share is that I needed to make sure that we were all communicating effectively. Because when I sat in that chair 7 days a week, 12-hour days, I knew everything that happened. I knew every phone call that came in. I knew every contact log that was made. I knew every client was happy or not. As we grew and we got teammates into those positions, I became farther removed from the day-to-day knowledge of clients, even though the happiness of the business and the teammates still rely on that client service need. Plus, it's my passion. So we started talking about how you tie a bow. How do you communicate so effectively that it doesn't matter who's sitting in that chair, what time they're sitting there, what day of the week it is, or what client's in, that we are all giving the same level of service and we're all communicating the same way. Over the years, this has even grown to include client service board. But in the early days, it was just how are we communicating inside of MBO and what emails are we sending each other. We didn't even have a shift handover. So tying a bow was my way of saying, at the end of the day, we're all giving each other a little present, a communication present, and we're sharing everything we know so that no matter who sits down, the future us in that chair can be successful. So if we hadn't worked on a client need, but we were there when they came back in, we could still help them because we were aware of it. So we're giving each other these presents that we would open in the future, so we weren't having to say, I don't know, I wasn't here, I've never heard of this before, but we could go right into the yes and, right into that great service that makes us great. So tying a bow was the bow on the present. Make sure you tie that bow, and at the end, you're giving them that gift of good service. As we started to expand our communication, we just would refer to that, tie a bow. You'll hear us say things like, did you service it? Can we service it? That basically means, are we using the yes and service philosophy of yes and, most important person, and thank you. Service it kind of has been shortened to that. Tie a bow, to me, did you create that gift for your next future teammate? And that future teammate could be you, but are you communicating so effectively that no matter who's in and working on that next client need, that we're in a good spot? So this week, I want you to think about that. Are you tying your bows? Are you ending your day in a way that is giving a gift to the next person that's taking over for you today? The next person that's going to be sitting in that seat 3 months from now if a client need arises? And what are you touching that allows you to do that? So some of the things that we have that share this, obviously, are the define the shift, right? We're communicating with each other. Tying the bow on that is disengaging at the end of the day. Your shift handover or your shift story ties a bow on the day for studio needs, client needs, just kind of a shortened version gets sent to me and Mike so that no matter where we are, we can read it and make sure we know what's going on and we can be in the best position to help. Last night's shift handovers talked specifically about needs that I would need for my meeting today with Mr. Shoemaker, so it was very helpful for me to read this morning. Other places that we tie a bow, contact logs. If you touch a client, contact log the client. Always contact log communication so that we know the full story of that client. We can look and see the past, what has happened, and to help us predict the future or help us know how to give great service. If we send a card, we contact log. If we send an email something, we contact log. Anytime you touch a client, you contact log. So you'll often hear me reply or hear me ask you or see me reply in an email, did that get CL'd? Did that get contact logged? So are you touching all your contact logs? Are you tying those bows? Another great place is the client service board. Client service board is where we have issues that are open that we can all be aware of. So for example, if a client is unhappy about something and it's a North Star, you're going to make sure you contact log that for the client. You're going to send an email to the L team, probably with that contact log in it, and then that's going to get dipped up into the client service board. The touches on that are threefold. The contact log is for your future teammate selves and for the therapist so that we have that story, that they can see the story of it. The email to the L team, again, shares the information to get it to us more urgently so that we can see that right away. And even a phone call to the L team if it is heightened urgency. And that lets us know what happened and then how we can help fix it. And the client service board is for all the teammates. So maybe you weren't working for the past couple days. We had a North Star come in that we're monitoring. When you come in and during engagement, you review the client service board or the first few bits of your shift, you're able to look at any open client service need inside that client service board and do a quick review on it. So as we're building the team and we're talking about communication and engagement, think of this as redundancy. Think of this as that parachute. Pack a parachute, have a parachute, be a parachute. Think of that in terms of tying a bow, of engagement, of sharing story forward. How are we doing this all proactively so we don't have to keep asking each other questions or having conversations say, I didn't know. There's that slight panic when something's happening and you're in the middle of trying to fix it, but you didn't even know it existed, right? So you want to be able to be in the know. And that's what tying the bow is. It's sharing forward all the information that you have and closing it out. I'm going to post inside of this the checklist that we have on the client story form for every time a client leaves. And if you are looking at that without reading it every day, you're missing the opportunity to see on there. It actually has about tying a bow. Is the bow tied? And if it's not, take the time to do it. You will thank you. I will thank you. Your future teammate will thank you, because that is how we give good service to each other. So think of it in terms of engagement. Think of it in terms of communication, how we communicate inside of the tools we have, and how you can effectively make sure you're giving that gift of service to your teammates that are coming up behind you. All right, thanks for listening, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.